Hi there, I'm Shawna Robins doing an interview here for Authority Magazine, and I am CEO and founder of Third Spark. And today I'm discussing thriving through menopause, some wellness tips for women over 45. And I have Dr. Anna Garrett with me. Dr. Anna Garrett has been a clinical pharmacist for over 30 years and uses a functional approach in her practice, which includes hormone balancing, weight loss, gut health, and health coaching. While traveling her career path, she discovered that working with women in midlife was her true passion. Her programs are all designed to help women in perimenopause and menopause escape from the hormone hell and feel amazing in their bodies. Hi, Anna. Thank you so much
Hi,
for joining
thanks for
me.
having me.
Yeah. Um, wow. I mean, like we discussed, hormone hell was my life. And so I would love to hear about how you got started in this space of helping women through perimenopause and menopause.
Yeah, it was probably anything but linear, but the real way I got started was I had a regular job as a manager at our local hospital, and as part of my duties, I provided health coaching for our employees, which was an awesome benefit. But what I started to notice was that the majority of the clients that took advantage of that were women who came in and said, I'm 49, I'm about to turn 50, all these things are happening. And I hadn't even begun to go down the hormone rabbit hole at that point. But I had one particular client who came in and said, yeah, I got admitted to the psych ward, once on the bad side and once on the good side. And I was like, okay. So one time she tried to commit suicide. The other time she got herself admitted. And she said, I got put on all these psychiatric medications, but I knew deep down that this was not a psychiatric issue, that I thought it was hormone related. And sure enough, when she got out of the hospital, she got hooked up with a clinic and got her hormones checked, and she was just like depleted across the board. And I was like, wow, if that's the kind of thing that can happen, I need to learn more about this, because with my training as a pharmacist, and I'd also done a health coaching certification, I was like, I can really have an impact for women. And so I launched myself down the path of mostly working with women in perimenopause, because I knew that lifestyle changes and supplements could actually have a big impact on how those women experienced perimenopause without actually having to get into the whole hormone space. Because as a pharmacist, I couldn't write prescriptions. So, there was a method behind the madness, but I was like, somebody needs to be doing this work. And in 2011, there really weren't that many people who were. And now, there are a lot of people who are. So that's good. But that one person just really hit home for me. And I was like, I have to learn about this. And I was also 45 at the time. So I was a slow burner. You and I were talking about fast burners and slow burners. I was a slow burner through perimenopause, and insomnia was my personal piece of perimenopause health and into menopause as well. So, yeah, everybody's experience is just so different.
And I think that's what makes it challenging for women is because there isn't a consistency. Not all women have hot flashes. Not all women have night
Hmm.
sweats. Not all women have insomnia or, metabolic changes or physical changes. There's no like one size fits all for menopause. And I know that that's what's challenging for the medical community, right? Because they want something that's in their textbook. And if they see anything that's in a range outside of what they learn in the very small amount that they get in medical school, they don't know what to do with it. I mean, I know when my hot flashes first started, I went to my general practitioner and I said, I need something because I'm not sleeping. Can you please help me? And she tried to give me an antidepressant because that was all that she had to offer me. And I said, no, this is a low estrogen issue. This isn't a, and this isn't anything that I need I'm not suffering from depression. I'm suffering from other things. And she said, but this is the only tool in my toolkit. And so, I think that the medical community is so far behind what women need, and that I'm so grateful that there are people like you on the planet trying to do this work sort of outside of that to support women. So you said something about lifestyle changes and supplements. I would love to hear what you usually advise women to do at this time in their life.
So I always start with the foundation, which is lifestyle, because you can't out supplement or out hormone a terrible lifestyle. And so for me, I mean, what I've noticed in my clients over the years is that stress management really is the number one thing that I get people to focus on, because cortisol is the only hormone your body actually needs to live. And so if it's running the show 24/7, then anything else you do is just not going to matter, because your body is going to take all the raw materials for your sex hormones and put them into the cortisol pathway, so that you'll have enough cortisol to outrun whatever tiger is chasing you in your life. And so what people don't realize is that your brain may say that I'm not under stress, but your body may be getting an entirely different message. And, you know, for your listeners who've never read The Body Keeps the Score, it's an excellent read to really get into the nitty gritty of what your body does to try to protect you from stress. So stress management, foundational. Sleep is foundational. And I know that people will say to me, well, if I could sleep, I would. I said, well, at least provide the container for sleep. So give yourself, you know, that 8 hour window, even if it's broken. Have a nightly routine where it tells your body that it's time to wind down. Magnesium can be super helpful for some people, and then there's a whole range of herbs, L-theanine, ashwagandha. There's a ton, and everybody's magic potion may be different. And then nutrition is key as well. And that includes avoiding alcohol, because alcohol disrupts so many things. It increases your risk of breast cancer. It affects your sleep. It affects weight gain. So there's really no upside to alcohol in the perimenopause period. Now, having said that, do I have a glass of wine? Yes, I do. But, you know, giving people the education, and then they can take that and do with it what they will, because we're all adults, right? So, and then exercise. Exercise is super helpful for so many things: bone health, brain health, just keeping you sane. So those are really the pillars that I hit on. And, you know, I didn't say much about nutrition, but that generally involves avoiding processed foods. Do I have a favorite diet for perimenopause? No. You know, whatever works for you is what works for you. Some people respond well to intermittent fasting. I'm personally slanted in a Mediterranean kind of way. Not a big fan of ketogenic, just because it can cause some thyroid problems for people. Carnivore, I know people will come at me and say, oh yeah, it's great for me. Well, it's not great for most people. And you miss a whole range of nutrients when you go that route. So those are my foundations. And then from a supplement standpoint, it really is very person dependent on what they're experiencing. But I'd say foundationally, magnesium, a good B complex, fish oil, vitamin D. And then if you're early in perimenopause, chasteberry can be something that's really helpful for helping regulate estrogen and progesterone balance. So those are sort of my go-tos. And then beyond that, there's a whole universe of supplements.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of supplements on the market, especially for women during this time.
Yes.
So talk to me about weight management. That's a big issue for women when they start to see their bodies change from perimenopause to postmenopause. Do you have any tips? I know you mentioned, you know, diet, intermittent fasting, exercise, all great ones, stress reduction. Anything in particular that you want to share regarding that?
Well, I'm going to go back to stress reduction. I think that's the first step. What I find is that when women start to gain weight, they do a couple of things. They start under eating and over exercising. And both of those things will raise cortisol, and cortisol is really what we're trying to keep under control. The second thing that happens if your estrogen gets much out of balance with your progesterone, that can contribute to quite a bit of weight gain. And then we also have an epidemic of undiagnosed hypothyroidism, and 80% of that occurs in women. So there's subclinical hypothyroidism, which means you have the symptoms, but your lab work may not look like it's out of range, but you're still symptomatic. And so in that case, it can be helpful to try a small dose of thyroid medication to see if it helps. And as I said, when it comes to diets, I'm, not really a fan of one approach or another. If you're doing something and it's not working for you, then it's probably time to do something else. So people get very, very entrenched in their way of doing things, whether or not it's working. So, if it's not, then maybe something different. Weight gain's a funny thing because Mother Nature, for whatever reason, decided that our fat stores would move from our hips and our butt area up to our waist as we went through menopause. And so women are like, why am I getting all this weight gain in my waist? Well, part of it is just sort of the natural movement of the fat tissue in your body. And I don't think that's well understood. And if I knew how to change it, I would, because it's happened to me too. But I think there has to be a certain degree of acceptance of your body. I mean, obviously, if things are out of control and you're gaining weight at a rapid pace, then something is off, and that's your body's signal that you're out of balance somewhere, and it's time to go digging deeper. So that's why I love the functional approach. It's because we don't just stop it, calories in, calories out. We're going down the rabbit hole a little bit deeper to look for those root causes of weight gain, whether it's high cortisol, low thyroid, or whatever. See, this is my menopause brain. I just lost track of what I was
All
saying.
good. It's all good. In fact, that leads to my next question. Really, I see a lot of women that have thyroid issues during perimenopause and menopause. So I'm really glad that you brought that up. I know personally, taking some sort of sea vegetable that has iodine in it has been a game changer for me.
Yeah,
But I see women quite often that have undiagnosed Hashimoto's,
yeah.
have hypothyroidism, like you said. So what are some things that women can do to support their thyroid health during this time period? Do you have any advice for them?
Sure. So the first thing to do is make sure that your doctor's running a full thyroid panel and not just a TSH. And so a full thyroid panel will consist of a TSH, a free T3, a free T4, thyroid antibodies, a reverse T3, although not all labs will do that, and thyroglobulin antibodies. So the antibody tests help uncover Hashimoto's, whereas if we look at free T4 and free T3, we can tell if you're a poor converter of free T4 to free T3, because free T3 is the active form of the hormone at the cellular level. And so if you're a poor converter, selenium can be helpful, iodine can be helpful. If you're low in T4, free T4, L-tyrosine can be helpful as a raw material to help with that. Iodine is also helpful in that particular situation. I'm sorry, iodine is helpful for free T4. I meant to say selenium and zinc for the T4 to T3 conversion. So those are the biggest ones. And then there are thyroid glandulars that are available. I think you have to be kind of careful with that. Maybe not the best do-it-yourself project without knowing some lab results, or working with a practitioner who has, knowledge in thyroid disorders. And then if it's an autoimmune issue like Hashimoto's, I tell people to avoid things that are inflammatory. So we're going to start with removing gluten, possibly dairy, sugar, and see if that helps bring down the antibodies to a more normal level. And I've actually had good success with just doing gluten removal with some of my clients. Um, so, most autoimmune diseases are caused by a combination of crappy diet, toxins, and stress. And so, with or without a genetic component to go along with that. So the thing is once you have one autoimmune disease, the likelihood goes up that you get another one. So it's kind of the train you'd like to stop before it heads down the tracks.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And, the statistics around autoimmune diseases are that 80% of autoimmune diseases are
Mm.
female related, right?
Yep.
Women have more autoimmune diseases than men.
Yep.
So this is something that most likely at some point in time, you're either going to have a mother or a sister or a friend or yourself. You're going to have, something. And so I like that you touch on the foundational pieces to keeping yourself healthy so you don't go down that road. Because like you said, once you get one, it's much easier to get more, and your body just becomes so impaired because of that.
Well, and we're, discovering more and more things that have an autoimmune component to them, like chronic fatigue and things like that. So, I know that's kind of a bucket diagnosis, but if you start looking, there's tons of autoimmune diseases out there, and you're right, most of them occur in women.
Yeah. All right. Well, as far as your wonderful interview that you did with me, there were 5 things that you mentioned that women should that women should really focus on. I know you probably touched on most of them here. I was just wondering if there was anything you wanted to, drill a little bit further down on. And the one that I would really like to hear about is exercise, because I know that I see how exercise changes for women as they age. From more of a cardio based into more of a weight training. I was wondering if you could talk about sort of the best types of exercise for women as they go through perimenopause and menopause.
So I am a huge proponent of weight training, and I don't mean 2-pound weights. I mean like have a trainer design a program for you if you can't afford to work with one, and then go back and have it tweaked because the last thing you want to do is end up in a nursing home. And so bone health is really, really key to keeping you out of that nursing home. I started working out when I was 50. I mean, I was pretty much a couch potato before that. And then I decided after my mom passed away from breast cancer, my daughter was like, let's go do a Susan G. Komen 60-mile walk. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that. So I started working with a trainer, and I'm about to turn 65. So I've been doing it for 15 years, and I managed to reverse osteopenia. Now I'm on estrogen. I'm due for another bone density test to see, kind of where things are. But, the benefits of exercise are just so, so important as we age and go through perimenopause. And most of it starts with the sanity part. People think, oh, if I exercise, it's going to keep my weight under control. But really, exercise is only about 15% of your weight loss efforts. The rest of it's, diet and hormone balance and all that kind of stuff. So, what do women want as they age? They want to have strong bones and they want to maintain their muscle mass. Because, if anybody's like me, I want to be able to get out of a chair when I'm 80 and go do exactly what I want to do. And so, if nothing else keeps me motivated, that does. And plus, I just like the way I feel. I feel strong. I feel healthy. Has my body composition changed? Well, it changed more for the positive when I first started lifting weights, but now it's kind of more, fat around my waist, that kind of stuff, but I still feel good in my skin. And to me, that really is what it's all about. So, not everybody can lift weights, but most people can do some form of weight bearing exercise. So even walking is good for that. I have a friend who, this isn't weight bearing, but just started water aerobics because she's lost a lot of weight. She's lost some muscle mass, but she enjoys it. And so that's what she started doing. So I would say, don't focus so much on the word exercise. Think about movement, because movement can be going out and kayaking with your kids, or it can be a bar class, or it could be Orange Theory if you're in that vein of things. So there's so many things you can do just to keep moving. And, I'm sure that you've heard this. Sitting is the new smoking, in that it takes years off our lives. So I just tell people to just get up and move.
Yeah, that's great advice. I recently bought a weighted vest that I wear
Mm.
when I walk so that I can get a little bit of weight bearing exercise. Not a heavy one, it's only 5
Yep.
pounds. They go all the way up to like 20, 25 pounds, which would be too much for my back. But
Hmm.
even just the 5 pounds, I notice taking inclines, just even little gentle hills with the weighted vest on is a totally different thing for my glutes and my legs and my core, keeping myself upright. And it gives me great posture when I walk too, which is
Hmm.
helping my posture while I sit all day. And so I highly recommend that women just incorporate weight bearing exercise. And I love that you have brought up other things that they can do that they might not think about, like,
Right.
water aerobics or, bar or things like that. I think I agree with you 100% on that.
Well, and I think, going back to using a trainer, even if you can afford to hire one for, like, say, 3 sessions, there needs to be a focus on safety if you're going to do weight workouts. And because poor form is the fastest path to, when you said your back, I was like, oh, yeah, that's a fast path to some sort of injury that can just sideline you for a while, and nobody wants that. So, to me, it's worth the investment to have a pro like work with you on your form, and then you go and do your thing. So that's just my 2 cents. I know
That's great.
everybody can't do that.
Yeah, I think that's super smart advice. And everybody's body is different and everybody's
Mhm.
previous injuries are different and their needs are different. And I think getting a professional involved is, yeah, like you said, if you can afford it. And you know what? Even if you can't, there's so many great workouts on YouTube that you
Yeah,
can do. And you can start at the beginning and then just move your way up through intermediate and advanced once you have more
yeah,
confidence. And yeah, yeah, it's great.
absolutely.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you. How can women find you? How can people connect with you?
Well, my website is dranagarrett.com. So that's one way. I wrote a book called Perimenopause, The Savvy Sister's Guide to Hormone Harmony, and that is available on Amazon. I also have a private membership group where we do monthly calls. I do teaching on various topics, have guest experts, so I might have you come talk about sleep. um, and then I'm all over social media as Dr. Anna Garrett. I'm Instagram, Facebook. I've got a free Facebook group that is a private group, as well as my business page. So I'm not hard to find. Let's just put it that way.
Wonderful. All right, thank you. Well, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate
Yeah, thank you. Thanks
doing
for
this
having me.
interview. Yeah, and thank you for joining my series. And I look forward to connecting with you. I'm definitely going to download your book. I can't wait to read it. And
Great.